going to vote them all again.
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. If we could, our morning as it were, if we could go ahead and start settling in, we will get this committee started. If everyone could please take a seat. If I could ask someone back in the back, go ahead and close the door for us. I mean, folks can come in as they wish, but just from a noise perspective. I'll call this meeting of the House Higher Education Committee to order. We have 5 items on our agenda this morning. Given the time, we are in the rules room and they start at 9 o'clock. We're going to try to move through these quickly. I wanted to point out to the members that you are getting 5 measures. You have seen them all before. There's a very small change that we'll articulate in 686. 450 is as you've seen it last year, HR 450. HB 206 has been, I believe, presented to us, and there's a small change there to clarify the gentleman's definition. Chairman Carpenter's bill is the same, and the substantive changes in a bill that I'll ask you to consider is in 1413. So what we're going to do this morning in order to keep things moving along is I'm going to turn the chair over to Vice Chairman of the committee, Carter Barrett. If he will call on me to present 1413, I'm going to ask the members to keep their questions to the changes so that we can move forward and try to get to these items, and then we'll come back to do that. Is there everyone have their packet? Everyone have their packet? All right. At this time, then, having been called to order, I will move to call on the Vice Chairman of the committee, Carter Barrett, to take over the chair at this time, in hopes he will call on me to present 1413.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chairman, please, the floor is yours for HB 1413.
Thank you, Chairman Barrett. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm bringing back today 1413 for the Dream Scholarship. There's been a couple of things done in there that I will get to. As you will recall before, specific to the Dream Scholarship on Let me refer to my notes, because I know it was basically what we're doing is we're setting up the funds for the Dream Scholarship into 3 accounts: the principal account, the scholarship account, and the transitional scholarship account. This is to hold the monies in a non-lapsing fund, so it's protected as an endowment going forward. That's just the structure that we needed in Treasury. We discussed when the bill was originally presented, and we hadn't had time to put that in the bill. And I'm looking for the exact line numbers to show you where that is, and those are starting on line 75. Created a Dream Scholarship Endowment Fund with 3 separate funds going over through the next several pages of the bill. So that protects the funding and puts the decision process on that funding with the board of the Student Finance Commission. The second portion, and this is an add to the bill that I think we can all be excited about, is we are creating another scholarship for postgraduate medical training in Georgia. We all know, and we've seen in our state, that medical resources are at a premium. And we have, over the time in this committee, seen various loan repayment programs. We've seen things to try to get medical professionals to practice in our state. We've tried to help with debt. So what this does in Section 2, starting on line 143, is it creates a scholarship opportunity for medical facility, or medical schools that teach in the university system to provide scholarships based on funding. That funding would come from lottery funds and would also be administered by the Georgia Student Finance Commission. This was done quickly, and to be honest, this will be perfected as we move through the legislative process. We hear that a lot, and I don't stand before you today to take that lightly, but we had a target of March 6th to get this through the House and to give Georgians an opportunity. Our target date to have an absolute correct bill is April 2nd to move this forward for Georgia, but that is Section 2 of the bill. Going along with that and with the creation of other funding requirements within the Hope Scholarship, given the revenues and expenses, it has been suggested by our appropriations staff in consultation with the budget office that we move the lottery education reserve to 100%. I understand there may be additional discussions on if the 100% is the right number, but they fear that 50% with the new requirements of the spending on lottery might not be enough given the revenue and the expense charts. So I would ask your consideration again to move that discussion forward so that we protect the Hope Scholarship for all the levels that it is funding today. Those are the three substantive changes of the bill, but I would ask the committee's approval to move this forward so that we can keep the DREAM Scholarship moving, we can look at creating a postgraduate medical scholarship, and we can protect Hope in Section 3. Yeah, I stand for any questions. I know our time is short.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have some questions at this time. First, Chairman Carpenter.
Thank you. Rapid fire. One, as you work through this process, are you going to make sure that the people that are receiving the medical scholarship actually work in the state when they're finished?
Thank the gentleman for the question. Yes, there is a contract that would have to be signed, and currently in the bill, you would have to practice in Georgia for 4 years. I guess that's subject to question. Should it be 4 years? Should it be 6 years? I think history tells us if a medical professional starts a practice and stays there 4 years, they're part of the community. They've got a practice going in, they'll stay. But I should have brought that up. Yes, sir. Okay. That is part of the bill.
Second question. I know we talked about moving those hours on the needs base to 9 versus 6. I hope we can continue that conversation. And the third piece is, I know that Chancellor had talked about raising money privately. Will that pour into this same fund, or will there be a separate fund at USG for the private funds?
That is still under discussion with the Office of Planning and Budget in the Governor's office, but the Chancellor remains committed. Just this morning I talked to the system office. They remain committed to this DREAM Scholarship, and I fully expect them to be a good partner, as I do the Technical College System of Georgia. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, for the questions.
Excellent. Governor's Floor Leader, Gamble.
Thank you, Chairman Barrett. Call the question.
We're going to do it all together.
Your microphone. I think there's something. Sorry, I think there's something wrong with your microphone. Chairman Dubnik.
Really wanted to second that motion, but
I hope you get that opportunity in a little bit.
Chairman Martin, thank you. Chairman Carpenter took care of a couple of my questions, and I just really wanted to ask and make sure, to Chairman Carpenter's point, that as we move forward, that needs-based scholarships that are and have been established at independent USG institutions would not be affected in any way by this, nor funds commingled accordingly. For example, with Georgia Tech's Promise Scholarship, just want them to continue to be able to fundraise as well as receive funds from this endowment.
Yes, sir. I mean, I can't comment on each individual institution's foundation, but this bill does not contemplate those foundations having to contribute here. In fact, there will probably be, if you will, this would be a multimodal opportunity for people to get help through college, because remember, we still have the completion grant. We still have the completion grant. Yes, sir.
Chairman, thank you. Chairman Barrett, at the appropriate time.
Thank you, sir. Whip Park.
All right, there we go. Thank you, sir. So the Dreams, Chairman Martin, so the Dreams Scholarship, the endowment, is that going to be, can you help clarify, will that be under student finance or just, or the state treasury?
Well, yes, sir. It says it is going to be administered by student finance. In practical terms, the Treasury manages all of the investments for the state. They just included that directly in this bill. But if it were silent, my understanding is funds deposited with the state of Georgia are administered by the state Treasury. So, but the funds would be controlled by student finance, and the decision and policy you see about the allocation of those funds, the earnings on the principal account to the scholarship amount would be done in a policy set by the board of the Student Finance Commission.
Thank you, sir.
Representative Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is, like 145, which medical fields are we covering? That's my first question. And then, well, which medical fields are we covering? Like, how are we dictating which medical fields are eligible for the scholarship?
As you're referring to 145, is just a description of what is being changed in the bill. I think the scholarships are postgraduate medical scholarships. And so it could be, I'm not a medical expert. I'm glad I have a good doctor that takes care of me. But I'm serious. There are multiple fields. This is not just for general practitioners. This is not for specialists. This is for postgraduate medical school. It's limited to the lady 8 semesters, and so, but it could go to multiple. I'm going to say the wrong word there. I'm saying, but multiple modalities. Somebody in the medical field helped me describe the practice. Multiple practice areas, I would say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm asking because are we directing the scholarships to maybe a workforce shortage in the medical field? Like, if we're short on nurses that year, are we kind of like directing the scholarship to that, or short on surgeons? That's my first question. And then my second question, how should we look into how long medical students are staying in the state of Georgia and then leaving to dictate how long we should ask them to stay and work in Georgia? Like, you're just saying 4 years. I think that's kind of short. I think we should try to get them to stay in our state and work for a few more years. But I'm just wondering how long it is that they're leaving.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, if the ladies, those are two good questions, and I'm going to answer the last one first and ask you to repeat the first one, because I was concentrating so hard I lost that. But no, seriously, the conversation about how long is enough when you enter into a contract, that may even over time it'll be done in policy rather than statute. I would recommend, and it might be done based on your practice area. You know, if your practice area is this time, it may be a more transient practice area, easier to move. We may want to make that you have to practice in Georgia more. Typically a doctor, and I apologize, lady, the first question was relative to how do we decide which areas, and I would go back to there and say the lady brings up a great question, and I think that's going to change over time, and I think we in this committee through the workforce and other non-medical areas have placed that over on the workforce board, so that may change over time because our time's changing rather than dictated in statute.
Great, thank you. Representative Glaze?
Thank you, Chairman. And I just have one question. If we could go back to line 73 and 74, I think I brought this up in the last session when we ask about, or we talk about engaged in paid or unpaid work, at least part-time, and we included internships, externships, and we were talking about allowing athletes who were not on full scholarship to utilize that time as a part of their work experience, and would we go back and consider that? I thought that was something we kind of agreed on.
Yeah, yes, ma'am, and we do, and I would just draw the ladies' attention to paid or unpaid work, at least part-time, which may include but shall not be limited to the enumerated items. So I would again hope that we would lean back to the financial folks that are helping us identify the students that need this and lean on them. But I think that enumerated list shall not be limited to that list. Those are just some things that are pointed out. But as this moves through the process, I think it is probably fair to have a discussion if you would wish to make the fact that you're in an athletic endeavor, if you wanted to make that part of the list. I would not object to it, and I continue to work with the lady, but it is not now precluded because of the shall not be limited to.
I would love to see that inside the bill so that we have no issues with parity. Thank you so much for bringing the bill.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Representative Glaze. Mr. Chairman, I think at this time I know we're going to cover a couple other bills really quickly before we get to considering the bills. So if you'll come back to your chair and take back over, that'd be great.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Carter. I'm going to move now to call on Representative Reeves to come forward, and while you come forward, we're going to allow him to give us a brief description of H.R. 450 and H.B. 686. I would, after your description, take questions relative to the change. I know H.R. 450 is exactly as it came before this committee, and if you would just articulate the two changes in 686.
Thank you, Chairman Martin and members of the Higher Ed Committee. Present to you H.R. 450. This is the ballot question on online sports betting. There are no changes since last year. This has been on file for a year. On H.B. 686, the related legislation to carry out the ballot question if it's approved, there are two minor changes. One is on page or line 602. The tax rate is being increased from 24% to 27.5%. The second change or changes are on lines 37 through 50. These are clerical changes. They are not substantive. They are just based on some changes in other codes since last year, and they update that. The money would go to Hope and pre-K, just like last year. No changes.
You have a question, Representative Bernal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On this bill for sports betting, and I'm not against gambling, however, the people who will participate in this are the same people whose children can't use the Hope. So what is there in this bill so that the people who are spending all their money, because we made all this money for with the lottery, and their children, when it's time for their children to go to school, all of a sudden everything changes, the rules change. So I'm just trying to understand who is this going to benefit, this bill? Because we're not doing anything to help anybody in other things. We're not providing health care or any of the needs that they need. And like I said, then their children can't go to college on Hope.
Thank you, Representative. I would refer back to Chairman Martin's bill, House Bill 1413, that provided funds to graduate medical education so that doctors in the emergency room, doctors in labor and delivery, postgraduate nurses. Many other people could provide health care from Morehouse Medical School, Mercer Medical School, the other medical schools in Georgia, in areas in Middle Georgia, South Georgia, North Georgia, Atlanta, all around our state. Additionally, if you look at the other states, and Georgia would be the 40th state in the union in the last 8 years to regulate and tax online sports betting if this is approved. Based on our population and our economy and our sports and airport and all that, we estimate about $200 million a year, that's $2 billion over a decade, would be provided for the education of the children of Georgia and for education of health care based on Chairman Martin's bill he just presented.
Representative, I'm going to go to the next one. We're good. We have to get here by 9 o'clock. I'll come back if there's time, Representative Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have we thought about fully funding school meals with some of the funds if we're bringing in so much from sports betting?
Let me answer that question just in the interest of time. The constitutional amendment goes to the lottery, goes where lottery money goes. There's a list of 5 things that can be funded out of that. That's in the Constitution. So we're not changing, we're not changing that. It's a good discussion for a different day. But today we brought you the constitutional amendment as we've seen it before to go into the pool of money that is for educational scholarships. And I would remind the committee that this constitutional amendment has been in place since 2025. The needs-based scholarship got a deposit out of that pool because it is a scholarship out of the HOPE monies this year. So while the two aren't tied together, that is what will ultimately happen when we raise more money and put it into the pool for scholarships.
Can I
Is that Whip Park? I remember. Let's go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As this constitutional amendment is structured, would any of these funds be permitted to go toward early education and development, 0 to 3?
Whip Park, I would refer to H.R. 450 lines 119 to 121. The ballot questions specify that the funds go to HOPE and pre-K, and so pre-K does get funded specifically on the ballot question and under
0
HOPE.
to 3 is not pre-K.
If pre-K is included in that, that would be the case.
So just pre-K, no money from this CA would go towards 0 to 3 early childhood development?
It depends on how Georgia law and the lottery defines that.
Let me go. We are in Whip Park. It's going into the lottery funds. There are those 5 areas in the lottery funds. I believe the way those the Constitution currently exists. This is not changing where the money can go. It's going into the fund set up in the Constitution back in the 80s. I think it's been changed once since then. But
so the answer is no to my question.
No, I don't believe that is the case. I believe money can be budgeted if I'll pull it up while we're taking other questions and look at it. And at the current Constitution, it can be, but it's subject to appropriation.
Thank you.
And I would add, Mr. Chairman, pre-K, of course, has literacy component. That this helps literacy.
Governor's Floor Leader, Representative Gamble. I don't know what number.
I'm on,
right,
there you go. A lot of questions about where the funding goes, and I see where the funding's outlined right now. I would be remiss. I've talked quite a bit to our colleague, Mayor, Representative Edna Jackson, for some time about Savannah State, the project at Savannah State that she's been very adamant about getting funding for. I had the Board of Regents send me the information they had pulled together about the facility, the cost to repair, demolish, rebuild, the different things like that. And is it not possible in this bill to account for our HBCUs in a funding mechanism, even if it was a small number, where there would be some designated fundings for capital projects such as hers? I know she's told me she's not planning to come back next year, and I think we're missing an opportunity to include that if this is something that's going to move.
Floor Leader Gamble, I would respond that House Bill 1413 would provide funding for graduate medical programs at Savannah State and any other colleges that would have
let me bring us back in. I mean, to the Governor's Floor Leader. In the current Constitution, the 5th item says capital outlays for educational facilities. It's allowed in the current Constitution. It's subject to the tuition scholarships, grants, loans to citizens 1 and 2 have to be fully funded.
Well, it's allowed right now in the state budget, but she hadn't been able to get her funding. And so what I'm saying for specifically for HBCUs, is that not something that could be included if we're going to talk about trying to provide some funding for them?
I think, well, that's a gentleman's point. I think what we have before us today is a constitutional amendment that's been in play for 2 years that doesn't impact where the money can go. That's served us, well for, over 25 years. And I think one has to be careful about doing set-aside funding in a constitution because things may change over time. It's allowed under the Constitution. It's up to this folks to budget accordingly. Are there further questions? No further questions on this one? Well, you really presented them both. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
no further questions on that. All right, we have a couple of more items. We're running late on time. We've got to get to these items. I'm going to move action on these first 3 items, and then we'll try to get to the second item. We've had before us last year and this year items HR 450, HB 686. I'll first move back to HR 450. What's the pleasure of the committee in regards to this item? I have a motion. We do pass, that this move forward with the do pass recommendation. Is there discussion? HR 450, is there discussion? Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no? No. Can we have a hand roll? The chair would rule the ayes have it. The lady has requested a count. If we can do that then, all those in favor say aye, or excuse me, all those in favor say aye and raise your right hand. Help me count. Reverse.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Motion passes. This moves forward to rules. Next item, we have HB 686. What's the pleasure of the committee on this item? I have a motion and a second that this move forward with the do pass recommendation. Is there discussion? Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no? Lady, wish to count on that one as well? All those in favor say aye and raise your right hand.
1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Reverse.
1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Chair votes aye. It moves forward. Moving now to HB 1413. This is the bill I presented today. There were substantive changes. I would normally give the committee time to look at that. If there's not objection, we'll move forward on action on this day. It is day 28. Without objection, we'll move forward with this. HB 1413. What's the pleasure of the committee in regards to this item? I have a motion and a second to just move forward to full committee with due pass recommendation. Is there discussion? Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. I love it when we all get together. This moves forward to, no, I don't mean to be flippant about that. This is a good measure for all the Georgians on several different occasions. We have two more items. If y'all will hang with me, we'll do this quickly. You have before you House Bill 693 from Chairman Carpenter. This is a measure to provide the opportunity for tuition equalization grants to a particular institution. Chairman Carpenter, do you want to give us a brief discussion or a brief presentation? Are you number one? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Glad to be back here on this issue. Just would open up TEG opportunities to the students of Herzing, focusing on our nursing and our nursing workforce for the not typical students. So pretty simple bill. It's narrowly tailored to make sure that it's just for this university. So I would appreciate your support.
Sorry, Representative Glaze, do you have a question? No. Are there further questions on this item, HB 693? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the committee in regards to this item? Have a motion this item move forward with the due pass recommendation. Is there a discussion? Discussion? Hearing none, did we not get a second? I'm so sorry. I'm running here. Second. We have a second. Chairman Carpenter, you didn't second your own bill. Yeah. All right, let me back up then. We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Discussion. I hate it when I do that. Not in front of my committee. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. You move forward to, you need to work out something with Chairman Dubnik back there, I think. You move forward with the due pass recommendation. We have the next item. Representative Bell had brought us this and has been working on it for 2 years. You have in your packet the definition of personal use, this very narrowly drawn to not throw folks off their loans or scholarships for what would be a misdemeanor charge. If everyone's comfortable with that, again, you have the change. It's been out there for a day. Do you have any questions? Representative Bell is actually here, so he can present the bill to us if you can do it briefly. I didn't see you, Representative Bell. Let me call on him for a moment and remind you that rule starts at 9 o'clock, and you have to go there if you're successful here. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Higher Education Committee, for working on HB 263 for the last few years. This bill will provide, this bill will make sure that individuals who previously had drug convictions will not be kicked off their Hope Scholarship and will be able to be productive members of our society. I want to thank the chairman for helping to get the succinct language to make sure that individuals who are trafficking drugs at high quantities are not permitted the same provision. But with that, I really appreciate the language. I really appreciate the time of the committee. And when there's time to make a motion, I please hope this committee does vote to do pass. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the work on the bill. Thank you, committee, for hearing this. And I yield my time.
Yeah, I thank the gentleman. I think he may have sounded the wrong bill number. We are on 206 LC 4920.
Excuse me, sir.
59, but he is a proponent of this. Representative Glaze.
At the proper time, do pass.
Likewise.
No further questions on this item. And again, I appreciate the gentleman working with us. You can look on the lines 34 through 37. It's a very tightly drawn, and fair representation. Any further? Is there a motion to move this forward? I have a motion and a second that this moves forward. A third and a fourth. A motion and a second to this move forward. Is there discussion? Discussion on the gentleman's proposal? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving into rules signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Chair deems this has the appropriate votes, and we'll move on to rules.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, members of the chair.
I have no further items. We will be meeting next week as we have some wonderful Senate measures that we'll work to perfect. I thank everyone for their time this morning, and if there's no further business, we'll stand adjourned without objection. We are adjourned.